So back in 2006, Cars was just a, an enjoyable film for me when I was 3 years old when I was a kid. And me and my family loved that film growing up. So it's been 20 years since that came out. So I was like, you know what? Let's take a look back at that trilogy of films. Also, I'm not going to be including the Planes film because I really don't really care about it. Um, so yeah, let's go over the trilogy and let's get started from the worst to the best. Coming in third place is Cars 2. Now, I don't hate this movie. There's quite a few things, but I enjoyed it when I was a kid. There are some things that I was saying that are workable, but some that just didn't work. About them just going around the world, across the country, from America to another country, but then Mater is a spy? Just shifting the genre by the emotion of the character's driving race story to a spy thriller. It lost the heart of the first film. Add to that, the plot revolves heavily around Mater, and it relies him too heavily on being intelligent. Plus, the logical inconsistent of the world building can illogical everyday structures onto the map of the car anatomy. The characters, I kind of like Finn McMissile, but wasn't crazy about the relationship between Maynard and his girlfriend. I wasn't crazy about that. Likewise, I never liked Francesco as a character. I thought he was just very ignorant and just kind of a bit of a cocky person all the time, especially when he talked about his mother in the film. Wasn't fully crazy on that at all. There are some things that did work, but things that obviously just did not work, and it just lost the point in the original film. Just genre shifting from another film that obviously just kind of blends itself into one that did not work. Next up, we have Cars 3, our runner up. Now, this one is it's not bad as Cars 2. Not terrible, but just decent right there. The emotional core and mentorship between Lightning and his chief crew, obviously that kind of worked out for him, just like a race car who's obviously has his days, but obviously they just made it into a sports movie, obviously about him like being this guy who obviously had his prime and obviously looking to retire. And well, the shift did work obviously from dirt race to track racing. There are some things obviously that did quite work, kind of like mentioning Doc Hudson. And I did like Cruz Ramirez and the time with working with Lightning, trying to get him like actually beat Jackson Storm, which I didn't think Jackson Storm would have to be too bad of a villain. I thought he was okay villain. But what didn't work was the climax of the Florida 500, and the Queen pulls over to let Cruz finish the race. I know that gets a lot of hate, but I'm a little mixed on that. I'm a little mixed on it. The old age of logic with Lightning, the Queen storyline frames as him over the hill relied through in the universe. He's only his mid-career, relatively base rate bid, physical decline. We've seen that through other athletes where they had their prime and then obviously they're starting having the decline in their career. Well, again, not a terrible film. I didn't hate it. And I know this obviously doesn't get a lot of, like, much of what I hated the most about Cars 2. I didn't hate any of that. But I like, obviously, that they mentioned Doc Hudson there for a little bit. And there were some characters, obviously, that did like, and then there were some that were, yeah, decent, but not that great. But overall, it's just not that good as the first Cars. Just, it's not terrible. It's decent. But I think it's definitely one of those films that we could have just left alone. But, well, you know. I mean, it did obviously pull 60 an emotional ground tribute to mentorship and aging out of your prime. But the climax, obviously, I'm a little bit mixed on it. That probably one I probably might have to figure out. I have to go back and look at it and just say, yeah, but could have done something better. But obviously, in first place is the original Cars. Now, this is the best of the franchise, which you have a race car who's obviously the rookie, and he's been dreaming about winning the Piston Cup, and then he gets lost in a town called Radiator Springs, where it's mostly just about a town who used to be, but then obviously hadn't been really on the map or any success in a long time, or anything popular in a long time. And what does work out is the narrative heartwarming arc, the friendship between Lightning and Mater, and of course and of course Sally and Lightning's relationship, and most importantly is Doc Hudson, who used to be a race car driver, but then he kind of just, after something that happened to him, he kind of just decided he does not want to do any of that and decides to leave it alone. But Lightning is encouraging him to, like, help him, but he doesn't really want to because of his past. And what makes it so well, and especially in the third act of the film, once you get to the final end of the race, you don't care about it because it obviously doesn't even matter, because what matters the most, it matters the most. And that's why I like so much. And I've watched and rewatching it, and obviously going back on it 20 years later, I still absolutely enjoyed this film a lot. And of course, the world building is quite understandable and interesting about this town in Radiator Springs, and where you see all the characters obviously finally having something that they actually wanted for a very long time. And that's what makes it so good. Not only that, with also of being a great film, but also the final film from Paul Newman, who passed away 2 years later. But looking back on it, and 3 years later, I still absolutely enjoyed it. And yeah. So there's one thing I gotta say, and that is ka-chow. So it comes in at number 1. So, with no question. And that's gonna do it for this video, everybody. And yeah, happy 20th anniversary to Cars. Thank you, Owen Wilson. Thank you, Pixar, for Raimi film that I would say I still enjoy to this day. And rest in peace, Paul Newman. So again, thank you all for watching. Take care and have a good day.